So we're talking about a concept called practice leadership, and it's really derived from the field of active support, really, and supporting predominantly adults in services to engage in meaningful activities and providing the right kind of support. So how do we support the development of competence within a staff team? So really kind of, behaviour analysts will talk about behaviour skills training. So there's a lot of similarities with that. From the PBS world, you might have heard of kind of 3-tier training, the kind of Gary Lavinia and the IABA lot. So it's, the concept of kind of practice leadership is how do we support staff teams to engage in the right behaviours? And those kind of right behaviours, they're context specific. If you're working in a school versus a hospital versus a care home, any of those kind of things. So I think some of the work we've been doing at the minute is, in fact, the recent podcast that we've done was with Roy DeVoe from the Tizard Centre, and practice leadership is one of his real areas of interest in terms of research. So practice leadership and restraint reduction. And we have some really interesting conversations with him, actually, and kind of our role as practitioners, clinicians in that practice leadership kind of framework. And he's talking about, when we get in and you work in a staff team, whether it's a residential care home, a hospital, whatever it might be, how do we support maintenance of whatever it is and generalisation of whatever it is that we're doing? And focusing on developing cores within staff teams that have those competence around working with certain people, but also sharing, taking that kind of shared approach of working with people for a very long time. And I don't know what it's like for you guys in the States, but that kind of parachuting consultant, you come in, drop in, write a support plan, and you're out again straight away, and actually nothing changes for anybody. There's very little that changes. And what it's really talking about, kind of our role within teams, and sometimes getting in, spending time just being with that staff team and the people they support, and looking for what he calls these tacit knowledge. So that knowledge is not written down. What if you see an individual staff member that is not having incidents with somebody? Usually the reason we would get called in is because of the complex and challenging behaviour. So if you're working within a staff team, you see there's that member of staff, or there's a couple of members of staff, and there's never an incident with them, and that person might be kind of quote unquote compliant for that individual. What's going on there? And we'd say rapport, right? We'd go back to the kind of car papers and we'd look at rapport. So really sometimes I think it's shifted some of what our role is as consultants when we go into services, is to be able to go and observe what's happening within a staff team, observe those practices, and then to try and take that kind of informal practice, what they call that tacit knowledge that's not written down, there's not a procedure that anyone's following, it's just that knowledge between that individual and that person that's supporting, and how can we help operationalise that and help distribute that across the staff team. And it's a different way of working in some respects. Some organisations we work with struggle with the kind of looseness of that kind of approach, but actually there are a lot of organisations and individuals that are really looking for that kind of approach. They want that kind of organic intervention, something that suits their context. So I've been interested in just kind of, I think that's one of the sharing that kind of power balance, I suppose, in some respects in services. When you're kind of coming in, people are looking for you to be the expert, and actually, hopefully, very well versed in kind of PBS procedures and some of the ABA procedures, but the staff team or the family or the school, they know that individual better than you're ever going to know them. So there's something about how do we marry up those two approaches to ensure staff teams are engaging in the right behaviours for that individual in that context.